Hello and welcome to Click, Brand and Beyond podcast. I'm Nisha Prakash.
And I'm Anoop Guru.
At Click, Brand and Beyond, we break down marketing and brand building into easily digestible nuggets for business founders. We teach you how to use the latest technology and trends to grow your business. Let's get started.
Listening to this podcast is guaranteed to make you taller, more handsome, more good looking, and 100% more intelligent. Guaranteed.
As if
I
they're
mean,
not already that, by the way.
of course, our listeners are all beautiful, good looking people, smart people. But of course, I was trying to be authentic when my marketing message. But I think that is not authentic. What do you think?
I would like to believe that it is authentic, but I know it is not authentic. And you're spot on, Anu. You have you have touched a raw nerve. What is authenticity? And it is such a jargon these days. Everybody is using be authentic, be authentic. We should be authentic. But what does it really mean to be authentic? And especially in their marketing communications, it's a slippery slope. But happy to unpack that.
Hi, Nisha. Welcome to another episode of Click Brands and Beyond. How are you doing?
Hi. Hello, Anoop. Very, very good. Very well. Authentically speaking.
So, what is authenticity? Well, authenticity, right? I mean, it's something that we hear quite often, and even we have heard some court cases of late where
Yeah.
judges have said you have to be authentic, right? Don't be misleading. Don't do false advertising. There seems to be all these things seem to be tied to each other. What is authenticity? What is brand authenticity?
The one word that comes to my mind is being transparent. Rather than being gimmicky or rather than making false promises, I think it is important, I believe it is important to be transparent. And that is the basis of authentic brand identity. Do not make promises of things that you're not going to do. Do not overpromise and underdeliver. Say what you're going to do and do exactly that. And that, to my mind, is being authentic. Wrong promises is not, it can get you some clients, it can sell your products as well. But end of the day, it is doing a great disservice to our customers because we are not delivering what we are promising.
Yeah, but for a small business, of course, it's a little tricky, right? I think the problem also stems from being small, right? For a small business, what typically
True.
happens is firstly the founders are very busy doing what they are doing.
Yes.
So you have this compounded problem of brand, messaging, marketing, etc., being a secondary consideration, getting a client today and getting revenue today being the primary consideration.
Right.
And it
That's true.
evolves. So the
Yes.
founder on day one says something, day two says something, year one and they say something as they survive. And at some point, somebody else comes along to help the founder with marketing or messaging or putting
Messaging,
some
yes.
messages in WhatsApp groups and whatnot. And every time the message changes,
True.
not just the message, but the promise of the message changes.
Promise of the
So,
message changes. And yeah, yeah, absolutely.
and what that says is you're not clear about what you're selling. You're not clear about having an identity or values, right? You as a company are unable to distinguish yourself from competitor. It's called the targeting effect, right? I
Yes.
mean, it is targeting effect is very popular in accident, let's say, origin.
Discovery.
So when a road accident usually happens, a lot of times people see something on the side of the road and they get fixated on that, and then they drive into that, right? Rather than driving on the
Yeah.
road. That's why people say, keep your eyes on the road. So something similar
Yes.
happens when you are doing marketing also. You're so fixated with the competitor, you start mimicking them, you start doing exactly what they do. So there's no distinguishing factor between you and the competition when it comes to the messaging. And messaging is everything. That's what people see out there. So there's a third point I wanted to make on this is jumping on the trend brand wagon. bandwagon, where every time a new trend pops up and somebody does something on that trend, the founder says, "Oh wow, this is something interesting. We should do the same thing." And so you're aping popular marketing tactics, whether it makes sense for you or not. You're just doing everything. So
And
you dilute
especially
your
in this
brand.
age of TikTok and Instagram, I think almost all, if you go through your feed, everything looks so similar. And I think it is a great disservice to the soul or the essence of a particular brand. And again, I find that it is not being authentic. But there are a few brands who also make their own mark because they stay true to their messaging. They do things in an authentic way. And a small example is, for example, a sustainability company, and I see their feed. They often pop up in my feed on my Instagram, and I love the authenticity. They are sustainable, and they work on grassroots levels, and the stories that they are telling are of people who are working on the grassroots levels. They do not make big promises. And the best part is they own up to their mistake. And there was, I think, there must have been some mix up in their delivery. One of the customer was not happy, and they publicly apologized for that non-delivery. They they took the accountability of that mix up, and they tried their best to make up to that client, all in front of the public eye. And I loved that. In fact, they loved the outpouring of love that they could get from their audience and their customers was overwhelming. And I love this fact that that to me is true authenticity, owning up, which also means being really transparent, which also means staying truly aligned to the values that they think and they say that they will deliver. So it's not an easy thing for most of the brands to be, because everybody wants to present their best or look their best, especially on social media. But a little humility goes a long way, and customers love you for that because they connect with that humility. So yes, and it's authenticity, again, as I said, Anoop, everybody is talking about it, but the challenge is that most of the brands don't really know how to achieve that authenticity. They do not have a toolkit, or they do not have those templates or the way to bring or build that authenticity into their content and also in their delivery, in their promise.
I think there's another type of inauthenticity also, which is okay. What we spoke about is shifting messages, right? If shifts all over the place, one day it's this, one day it's that, so there is
Right.
no consistency, right? A lack of consistency
Mm.
in what you stand for and what you want to say. There are certain brands who are very consistent, right? Some kind of sanitary pad brands come to mind, and some, uh, whitening creams, or what you call as,
Oh, oh, oh
you
gosh,
know,
yes.
uh, fairness creams, as they are called,
They
right?
promise the world, exactly.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
So what happens? They are on brand. They are known
Or
for young
energy
women
drinks.
empowerment. They do women empowerment kind of ads. The
Yeah.
product has nothing to do with women empowerment. Just because a woman is using your product doesn't mean that she is becoming, more intelligent or more confident or sportier or can jump
Yes.
further or something like that. Right? Ridiculous things. But the brands are known to do that. And it's inauthentic. It's over promising what you can do actually, right? On the other
Yes.
hand,
Absolutely.
this type of messaging, I think, believe is more damaging, where the brand is consistently messaging the same over-promising thing. Even a lot of so-called health drinks do that, right? They say you will become
Yes.
taller, smarter, what a kids health drink. But when you look at the content of the drinks, 40% sugar. So I feel authenticity comes from being consistent but over-promising also, right? Which is, I
True.
think, it's not just an exaggerated claim. It is the boundary it's crossed, and it's actually false advertising. Yeah.
It is. And there is a very thin line. If you look at all the big brands as well, and especially with children's drink that you mentioned, um, feminine care and feminine hygiene products, the kind of storytelling they do, the kind of visual or the messaging that they build in advertising their product, it is inconsistent. But the good thing is that people are waking up. Also on the policy level, there has been a crackdown on these kind of messages. Recent case being Patanjali's products, which is very sad because a lot of people use it. But then it is very surprising that how much it has percolated to the bottom level of our society and the consumers' habits. People do not really care until somebody points it out. Everybody has gotten so used to inconsistent and inauthentic lies, basically. And but the challenge, see, big brands can get away with it, but what about the smaller brands who are struggling to get a very small percentage of the market share, and they're finding it very difficult to build trust and credibility with their target audience because the choices are so many. And the earlier point that you brought on the table was that they do what their competition is doing, but is there really a competition? What do you how do you think this impacts the small business? One thing I can think of is that they lose their customers much easily because they're playing in a very small um, arena, and customers have many choices these days, especially because of the social media. But what are the other ways you think it impacts?
It's a very simple thing. Does the end customer remember your brand for the problem you solve? If not, then your message has been very inconsistent. You have not really established a brand, a positioning for yourself and marketed it well. For example, I take the car example quite often, right? I say, okay, luxury car, premium car, fast car, safe car. Whenever I say these phrases, a different type of company comes to mind. The same thing can be
Yeah.
spoken about makeup, right? For example, we can say environmentally friendly, organic, premium, luxury. These are the terms that get associated with certain companies, certain products. If your
Right, right.
product, and however small you are, it doesn't matter. If there is no top of the mind recall, let's say you
Yeah.
might be selling office chairs, or you could be selling furniture. But if people don't refer to you with your brand name or your company as the place to go for XYZ type of products, then you're missing the this thing, right? And it need not be
Yeah.
global, it could be local within your locality. Do people prefer to
Yeah.
go to you compared to other competitors? For example, the silliest example I can give of southern India, right, is a bakery. And unlike Europe and all that, bakeries don't really sell baked goods alone. They also sell sweets and they sell tea. You can sit and have a cup of tea, right? In many of the bakeries, right? Small
True,
roadside
true.
shops. So the many a times you refer to the bakery with the name of the person who owns it. It could be Ravi's
Right.
bakery, Shankar's bakery, or somebody else's bakery, right? And the reason you say is, hey, where can I get to good tea here? You go to Ravi's bakery. And that is a brand recall. It's not a very big thing. They sell good product and the word of mouth is
Yeah.
spreading. Similarly, if your brand is selling drills, right, or it could be selling kids clothing, if your
Yeah.
customers don't recollect this is the brand, then you have not done a good job. And I can tell you one thing, there is a problem today which people are not recognizing. Most e-commerce sellers sell through Amazon, Flipkart, and multiple other marketplaces. Customer loyalty doesn't exist until unless you
True.
really go out of your way to brand yourself, market
Yes.
yourself.
True. Market yourself. That is absolutely true. And as we were discussing in our last episode, one can do that while being frugal, but it is still important. The only way they can connect, especially now and on social media, is if they are perceived as authentic. Hence, being real, being transparent, being authentic becomes a real deal, especially for the smaller businesses. Very, very pertinent point. Yes. So tell me one thing. How can they start? What is the first point? What is the first step of being authentic? How, for a young business or somebody who is just a business owner who is just launching a product or a service without any prior experience, what is the first thing that they can do to, in their journey of being authentic?
I think I'll refer to our last episode also, right? Where you start with storytelling. First of all, understand who your clients are, associate a story with what you are trying to deliver. And it is not like, buy my product, buy my product, buy my product. No, it could be something simple like, okay, let us say there is a founder who's a mother of young kids, and one of the challenges is keeping the meals ready all the time, right? And one thing you can always do is chop up a little few fruits and vegetables and store them in the fridge. It's a silly, simple thing to do. Now, the challenge here is fridge doesn't have space, right? The biggest fridge doesn't have space in a home. It's just a matter of spaces available. It just gets filled with stuff. Now, how do you arrange the fridge, right? Okay, you can, let us say you are a company which sells shelving solutions for the fridge, smaller containers, etc., right? So within the shelf of the fridge, you can attach them and you can get more space and actually reduce how it is all consumed, right? So when you're targeting young mothers and you yourself are a mother of young kids and you created this product, the easiest way to tell the story is, as a young mother, this is something I faced. Therefore, I thought this might be a good way to solve it. Then what is the target? The entire space that you're trying to consume here is your refrigerator does not have space. You want fresh stuff as far as possible. You want stuff on the go, ready, but you don't have the time. Keep talking about that. The storytelling can go from this is how I created it to hey, this is how I chop up some fresh fruits and keep it for a couple of days, right? Or this is the way I create, let's say, that mix, a custard type mix, right? Which kids love to eat with fresh fruits, and I preserve it this way, right? But these are small portions. Okay, I do this, I chop these type of vegetables, and then you talk about the vegetables, right? What you should keep, should not keep. You're being helpful. You're narrating a story, you're being helpful. And at the same time, you're introducing the product in a very authentic manner. You're not trying to say that if you use my shelving solutions, your food will taste better, right? Or some nonsense like that. What you're trying to say is this is the way the product is being used. The product is very naturally placed in your day to day activity, very authentic. It comes across as somebody who genuinely cares. And because you use your own product, you people know that hey, there is trust to be built here. So this is something simple. It could be 30-second reels or TikTok videos. It need not be very elaborate. You don't have to spend extra time, money, or effort to do this. This can be part of your daily activity with a camera around. So as a small business founder, a young founder, or a founder of a young business, you can start by storytelling. You can start by being authentic. Say the things you are doing. And
Right.
another thing I will add, my last point probably for this is you should be the first consumer of your product. If you do not use your own products, you cannot really sell them. Very difficult to sell a product which you know nothing about. You will
True.
come across as inauthentic when you try to do branding and marketing. And that probably is, I mean, I also test that, I mean, I have seen a lot of phone companies sell a lot of type of phones, but when you see the senior management of those companies, they use their rivals product. And that tells you all the
Oh,
confidence they have
yes.
on their own products.
In their own product. That is so true. It's a I have noticed this, and I was like, what? Why? So true that. Another point that I would like to add to this, Anoop, is that training employees. So everyone, every last person in your organization, everybody should become that. They So, for example, if a watchman or a doorman is on the door, standing on the door, even that person has is also your brand ambassador. and how are they presenting your brand messaging to the world. So, training your person, holding workshops, onboarding them, having some kind of plan where the business owners, even if it's a young business, even if they're just a team of four people, it is really important to have these discussions and instill instill those values, and that kind of shows through. If there is any discrepancy, the founder is saying one thing, the marketing team is saying one another thing, and the delivery team is saying another thing, or doing another thing. If there is inconsistency between the intention, action, and the content, that kind of that blows, that shows through. And I think customers are really smart, they are discerning, and they pick up on that. That brand fails to be authentic, and that brand fails to make an impact, to stay in the mind. In fact, quite the opposite, because then the customers think, even if it's subconsciously, the message that sits in their brain is that, they were saying something and they are doing completely different. They will not refer or go back to that brand. Sometimes they might even deter other clients. They will leave bad reviews. And in this day and age of social media, these things, once it has entered the internet universe, it's not going to leave that place. So working with people and employees, I think it's really really important, and most of the time I have seen in my experience, founders fail to do this.
Agreed. I think we spoke quite a lot of things, right? I mean, one is being authentic requires you to know what your brand is for, who is it for, right? And be consistent. So don't say different things on different days because people remember and then they forget you because it's confusing them. And being consistent does not mean being, I mean, exaggerating the claims of what your product can do. Don't go into the side of false advertising. All marketing has a little bit of deception built in because you use psychological principles. You use principles of behavioral psychology most of the times. But there's a simple way to do that. The deception is not to fool the customer, the deception is to highlight what you can do. A little bit of exaggeration is fine. It can also go into the comedic direction, right? If you want what you're saying to be very humorous, you can say something, my product is going to make you 10x stronger. It will not happen, right? But then
Yeah.
everybody knows it's an exaggeration. And if you kind of have the right visuals to go with it, comic like visuals, then yes, everybody understands that. Closing
Right.
thought is you don't really have to ape your competitors. What you can do
Yes.
is just use your product and show how you use your product, and everybody will recognize that and they would want to say, okay, you know what, this person actually genuinely cares. Therefore, let me give it a try. And if they really like your product, they come back because you're
Yeah.
authentic, because you're real. As simple as that.
True. That's true.
Nisha, your closing thoughts.
My closing thoughts, Anoop, I love this the conversation that we had today. Being authentic is a very difficult thing to do on a very philosophical level. That's the journey of our lifetime. But for a brand, the first and the foremost thing is that they should be transparent. I think I think over promising and under delivering, that is something that they should that keep in mind. That is something that should not be doing. Alignment in their intention of what they're trying to deliver, and their presentation, how they're delivering it, and the intention, what they're saying that they're going to deliver. All of these things have to align. So that true alignment is the basis of all authenticity. And the intention is, the honest intention that a founder or a business can bring on the table is to truly serve their customers. If they're coming with this intention, it will not be a very difficult task to be authentic. And being open to the feedback. If a customer is giving an angry feedback, timely and appropriate, empathetic dealing with that complaint, that customer's complaint, is also important. And most of the businesses should figure out ways and means to do that. Apologizing to the customer for something, for a mistake, even if it's a small mistake, also goes a long, long way, because it shows that the business is open to receiving feedback and accepting, taking accountability, and correcting and course correcting. And this human side, this empathetic, compassionate side, stays. It becomes a story that customers remember. And in fact, if nothing else, they will not hesitate to to recommend, because end of the day businesses are only also people. They're, people have to like other people. It's a relationship. It's a people's business. Even if you're selling products or even if you're selling services, end of the day, it is about people. And that is, I think, core of that is the central message of staying authentic.
Wonderful points. Thank you, Nisha.
Thank you, Anu. And that is it for this episode. I'm Nisha Prakash. You can find me at LinkedIn and my website nishaprakash.com.
And I'm Anoop Kurup. You can find me at LinkedIn and my website, anoopkurup.com. We will see you in the next exciting episode of Click, Brand, and Beyond.